Welcome to the Pat McAfee Show, Tuesday, February 11th, 2020. I'm AJ Hawk, sitting in for Pat McAfee all of this week while he enjoys his time somewhere else on a beach somewhere, most likely Hawaii. He called in yesterday on the show from his plane, almost got kicked off of that plane for calling in and holding on to his FaceTime call with us, so I appreciate that. Appreciate Pat doing that. I'm sure he's having a great time out there. A lot of stuff is happening out there as far as the sports world. Coronavirus, they're disinfecting streets, they're spraying airplanes with gigantic fire trucks, like you see them spray airplanes coming in for the Super Bowl. If you guys ever seen that, I know when I was lucky enough to play in the Super Bowl in Dallas, and when we landed, they had a huge fire truck spraying water on our airplane. I guess it's just like a ceremonial cool thing. Not so much in the Wuhan province, when they're spraying airplanes with disinfectant. It said it was water and instead 75% alcohol.
Yep.
And that's going to fix the problem?
Yeah, I don't think so. But, you know, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. Maybe it is working.
Yeah. Okay. And so obviously we've been talking about Tom Brady a ton. He is mentioned, there's reports out there that he's definitely going to test free agency, see what's out there for him. Phillip Rivers is going to be a free agent. He's no longer with the Chargers, Los Angeles, San Diego, whatever they are. They're the Los Angeles Chargers for now, but Phil Rivers will not be playing quarterback for them next year. Taysom Hill, quarterbacks are all in the news. Says he wants to be paid like a franchise QB. He's only thrown 15 passes in the NFL, so we will see. He is a special, special talent. I'm not sure if he's a franchise quarterback or not, or if he will be paid as one right away. Tua Tagovailoa, his scans look great. Hip is feeling good, but you know what? Let's listen to some Chase Rice before we get to the show going.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
All right, here we go. We know February 11th. It is a Tuesday. I wanted to start off with Tom Brady because Tom Brady, obviously, very important person when it comes to the NFL and just actually pop culture.
In
everything.
general, yeah.
Tom Brady, he crosses over every single place you go. So I go to the Kentucky Derby. I've gone the last 4 or 5 years to meet up with a bunch of the Green Bay guys and go there. And Tom Brady's there. Usually when they win the Super Bowl, he shows up with his crew. If they haven't won the Super Bowl, they usually don't show up. It's a weird thing how that works. But in that world where there's like the who's who of actors, musicians, athletes, when Tom Brady walks in, it's like everybody turns and looks, and this dude's got a halo above him. He's obviously dressed super unique and weird and like, man, where do you even get those kind of clothes and those hats you wear? But even Tom Brady has that effect on all kinds of people, no matter who they are, no matter what they do for a job. So I'm curious, this Tom Brady situation. I've always said I think he finds a way to get back to New England. I don't know why I think that. He's going to test free agency, which I think is great. Why not? He's never really been able to do that. You get to see what you're like in the open market, how other teams may value you. I still think he could go out there, take a few visits, see what's out there, and come back to New England. We know the owner wants him there. So my whole question is, what is it like between he and Belichick? Like, why does it seem so difficult for Tom Brady to get re-signed in New England? Do you know?
No, I mean, I'm sure Connor has some more thoughts on this, but I just, when I see something like this, this didn't sway me either way. Like, I figured this would come out. If anything, this is just another bargaining chip for him. You know, reports get leaked to how much he's getting offered elsewhere. Like, this is just another piece of ammunition for him in the future.
Yeah, his agent, I think Don Yee is his name. I don't know if it's Don or not, his first name. Is a genius for putting some of this. He should be putting some of this stuff out there. I mean, every agent, front office person, they have relationships with media members, and a lot of people negotiate through the media. Happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Teams do it, players do it, agents do it. They should do it. I think it works a lot of times. So for them to sit out there and leak or report that Tom Brady could be going to the Las Vegas Raiders, that's amazing. Why not? Like, it seemed, hey, you know, like we got a video of Tom Brady talking to the Raiders owner at the UFC fights and everything. Like, oh, okay, feels a bit staged, and I think you should do it. It's right, but Also, you talk about the Chargers now. That job is open.
Right.
You need to bring people into the stadium. You want people to watch you play. Of course, who's going to do that better than Tom Brady? So it makes sense. But, man, I feel like unless there's some, like, rift between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the rest of that coaching staff that they can't get over, I see Tom Brady going back to New England.
Well, I get that part of it was like the money part, how he's always taking a team-friendly deal. He wants to be compensated. But at the end of the day, doesn't he want weapons? Like, he wants that money going elsewhere so that they're in a prime position to win another Super Bowl. Like, he doesn't need the money. Granted, it's nice to have that and to, like, finally, you know, get compensated for what you feel you've earned. But I don't think he really cares about that.
No. I mean, everyone cares about money. I mean, there's a reason a guy like Warren Buffett is still working.
Yeah, right.
People say, oh, how much money do you need? You couldn't dare spend all that money. Well, give me an internet connection. I can spend it in about 3 hours. I can spend $200 million. I'm buying yachts. I'm buying houses everywhere. You can get it. You can go through that pretty quick. And we know his wife makes probably more money than him.
Right.
So it's not really about that, but obviously he wants to get paid what he's worth. He's taken a hometown discount for a long, long time. And so maybe he's like, you know what, I'm going to stay. This is my time to stand up and let me show what leverage I have, what power I have, that I'm Tom Brady. Like, you can't do this anymore.
That hometown discount, though, you got to think that that's kind of been sort of the formula that's gotten him all these Super Bowls. So a place like the Raiders, even though it kind of makes sense, does he want to go and battle Mahomes for, you know, a division championship? That might even be harder to get to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially since McDaniels didn't get the Cleveland job and he's back in New England. I think that's a big part of it, unless he and McDaniels have some kind of falling out that we don't know about behind the scenes, which you haven't heard anything like that kind of leak out. Normally it does leak out a little bit if they have some issues behind the scenes. But maybe he's thinking, hey, I've been taking hometown discounts, and then all of a sudden this year I feel like I didn't have the weapons I needed to win. Like, we need to upgrade our offensive line. We need to figure out a tight end situation now that Gronk is gone. Maybe add some weapons on the outside for me to get the ball to. They got plenty of running backs, I think, that you can throw to and hand off. But I feel like he's just fed up. Like, hey, I've been taking hometown discounts for so long, and I still felt like we lacked the talent in certain situations, certain positions for me to take us to the Super Bowl. I tried. I got us far enough, and I just couldn't make it happen this year. So maybe he's a little fed up with that. But ultimately, I see him finding a way to get back to New England.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, I mean, I think a big part of what's driving him, too, is just the outside noise of that he wouldn't have been able to do all this without Belichick. And so, I mean, if it does end up coming to that, I mean, like even Michael Irvin the other day was saying that he had a high-ranking source inside the Cowboys front office who said they're going to heavily pursue Brady, and it sounds like that was BS. But
That guy's a liar. That guy's a liar. Don't trust him.
Well, that comes a day or two before the Cowboys have come out and said they're going to most likely get a deal done before March 10th with Dak Prescott. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, you should feel pretty good about that. You would think if you're the front office for Dallas, that takes a little leverage away from you and gives Dak Prescott a little bit more leverage, but maybe they're closer than we think in hashing out a new deal.
Yeah, well, it said that, it was reported that McCarthy's all in on him, Stephen Jones is all in on him, Jerry Jones is all in on him. So if everyone's all in on him, then I mean, what's the holdup at this point?
If, let's say, everybody's all in on him, what if Mike McCarthy wakes up, checks his phone, and it's a text from Tom Brady, says, hey, Coach, what's up? Always been a big fan. Love Dallas. Love to be under center running your offense. What do you think? What do you think, Connor?
See you later, Dak. I mean, if you get a text from Brady, you're not turning him down. Obviously, I don't want to see him leave, but you got to think, too, he might have a better chance making a Super Bowl in the NFC than he does in the AFC.
That's a good point you bring up. I really wonder what teams Tom Brady is looking at. That's another question. And, okay, what if Drew Brees decides to retire? That's out there, that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Drew Brees retires. I don't think he retires. He seems like a guy that absolutely loves playing football and wants to find a way to get another Super Bowl ring. If he retires, they have to make a decision with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill in New Orleans, whether they think Taysom Hill is their next franchise quarterback, whether they think Teddy Bridgewater is, or they think neither of those guys are our next guy. If Tom Brady shows interest in going somewhere, the team's going to have to entertain it and find a way. How can we work this out with our salary cap? How can we pay him enough, give him maybe a 2 or 3 year deal for $30-40 million a year? Is that what it's going to take?
I don't know. New Orleans would be interesting. It seems like Sean Payton would be a guy that Brady would really like to play with. And the amount of weapons they have, I mean, if he's not going to take a hometown discount in New England, I could see him taking less money to go play somewhere like New Orleans.
And they have a hell of an offensive line, too. I mean, that would be a perfect fit for Brady. I mean, although New England is the most perfect fit, let's not get it twisted here, the Saints would be pretty good.
So, Connor, you're a big Patriots fan, right?
Yeah, you could say that. I dabble in the Patriots fandom.
So will you write off Tom Brady for life if he leaves New England?
Absolutely not. I mean, he's made my childhood. He made my life what it is today.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh, my goodness.
So I've only experienced championships my entire life, and that all has to do with Brady. I won't write him off, but it'll definitely be a bummer. I mean, I won't switch fandoms by any chance, but I mean, it'll hurt a lot to see Brady in a different jersey.
The narrative that Bill Belichick wants to prove that he can win without Tom Brady, and that Tom Brady wants to prove he can win without Bill Belichick, do you think that's a real thing?
I do, just because you think about how petty the top guys are. Like when people were starting to count Brady out a couple years ago, he said, "I'm the baddest mother in the NFL in the world." You got to think that he does want to prove that it's him, not Bill. And Bill probably also wants to say, "Hey, I'm the greatest coach. It had more to do with me than it did with Brady."
See, if you're Bill Belichick, you're going to be considered the greatest coach of all time, no matter what. Who cares? If Tom Brady gives you the best chance to win another Super Bowl or two, keep Tom Brady around. If you have some kind of weird petty differences, or I just can't imagine there's anything that going on behind the scenes that would keep him from coming back. It's got to be like a respect and a money thing. Like, hey man, like, listen, I want to be here. If Tom's got to say, like, I want to be here. I want McDaniels being my play caller. I like what we have going. I don't want to start over with a new offense somewhere else, even though wherever he goes, they're going to cater it to Tom Brady. It's going to be Tom Brady's offense most likely. But I just can't imagine there's something behind the scenes going on to where Brady like really wants out if they offer him what he feels he deserves.
Do you put any stock into the fact that, like, they just moved, they're moving out of the house?
No.
They're
How many times has Tom Brady bought and sold like $50 million houses? It seems like this happens every 2 years.
It's what rich people do. I mean, he gets a new phone every 3 months. Give him a break.
A new phone every 3 months?
Oh, yeah. You remember. He destroys his phone here and there.
Well, when he destroy it like Hillary Clinton, didn't she bash hers with a hammer like 4 or 5 phones?
Oh, yeah.
Just, I don't know, throw it in the lake or something. You don't have to bash it with a hammer. Yeah, Tom, I don't blame him for not turning his phone over, though. Were you one of those guys that felt like he should have turned his phone in? This was, a couple years ago during Deflategate. They wanted him to turn his phone over and let them decipher it and check everything out. I don't blame him for not turning it in.
No
Why?
way. I wouldn't turn it in.
Give me a subpoena, buddy, if you want this phone.
Exactly.
Like any text that they can read, anything out of context can make you look really bad.
Well, and if they get that, like, they're not just looking at that text thread. It's like, all right, let's see what Tom's got in his inbox on his email.
Something's
Let's see what
leaking.
his pictures. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
They're going to leak it for sure. It's getting out there. You're right. It's just you can't trust that someone's not going to come across that. Isn't that how, like, Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee, didn't their sex tape get, like, stolen out of the garage?
I think so, yeah.
Who keeps the garage?
Yeah, first off, who keeps it in the garage? Maybe, actually, I think it was like a safe in the garage or something. Either way. I don't know. That's why it's a good thing, I guess, we don't have VHS really anymore.
Yeah.
But it links now. If you have a link or you have a little thumb drive, that's a little easier to misplace.
Yeah, and that's a lot easier to get the stuff off there, too. I mean, you find
Much
something
easier.
like that. Yeah, boom.
Much easier to get the stuff off on that, right?
Right.
Yes. All right. We're going to go to a break. This is the Pat McAfee Show, 1-833-622-3331. Great show today. We have Bill Romanowski coming on the show. We also have Sean Merriman. A lot of fun ahead, so stay tuned.
Wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month, with no contract ever. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Welcome back. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I am AJ Hawk, joining you for the rest of this week, February 11th. This is a Tuesday. We're going to head out to the calls right now. Our number 1-833-622-3331. Let's go to Rick in New Jersey. Rick, what's up?
OH!
Hi-oh, buddy. What's happening?
There you go. How's it going? How's everything?
Oh, things are going great. Going well. How about you? Where are you? Where are you?
I'm a big Pat McAfee fan. For the show himself, the boys are great. Hold on, let me pull over. I'm also a UPS driver, so I'm slinging packages out here.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So just wanted to call. You know, this whole Wu-Tang virus, this is some crazy stuff. But
Okay. Yep.
backtrack a little bit. Got diagnosed with cancer 8 months ago. When the Pat McAfee show came out, I was a big listener, and I was getting through the call, like listening every single day. And I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate all the fun stuff you guys do, and it really got me through that tough time. And as of now, I am cancer-free, so I just love you guys, and keep doing everything. You guys are doing fucking amazing. Sorry, Kirk.
Oh, no.
He said he wasn't going to swear.
Well, hey, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're cancer-free. Hopefully the Pat McAfee Show has helped you fight through some of that, so I really, really appreciate the call. We're going to head out to Dave in Massachusetts right now. He has a Tom Brady comment. What's up, Dave?
What's going on, AJ? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. What do you think is in line for Tom Brady?
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for filling in for Pat, because it means a lot that I get to watch his show and hear it and see the highlights for the rest of the week, and don't have to miss out on that stuff while he's in his little straw hut by the beach.
That's right. I'm glad to be here.
I think Tom Brady likely landing spots. I have to go with the Titans. Because of the free agency stuff, they have the most amount of available cap. Plus, they're both looking to prove something between Belichick and Brady, apart from each other. And Belichick has never done well against ex-coaches of his. You know,
what makes you think the Titans
in the playoffs?
Are you going off that debunked rumor about them touring schools for their kids in Nashville? Like, what makes you think the Titans?
No, because that turned out to be Steve Hutchinson and Steve Hutchinson's wife. But I think just because of he's got a lot of connections. I mean, if you look at all the players that went from the Patriots to the Titans, you know, you look at Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler and Deion Lewis and all these people, and then you know having Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was part of the initial dynasty. You know, so that connection there with Brady, he has that kind of rapport there. That's why I think he'd go there. Plus, there's a whole bunch of players that used to play with Brady that are free agents again this year, you know. And when Brady plays with people buy into it. They buy into winning, you know, and they're kind of willing to take those pay cuts. So if, you know, maybe A.J. Green drops off and goes and becomes a Titan, or Amendola or Blunt, or, I mean, geez, they might even sign Antonio Brown back if he gets a full head scan from head to toe by a doctor. But I think there's just a lot of options.
Okay. Well, hey,
that might be
I appreciate the call, Dave. Thank you. I mean, if you look at, like, I don't think he's going to go to Tennessee, but obviously there's a lot of obvious connections. Mike Vrabel, three Super Bowl rings as a player, early on in his career as a head coach now, and great guy that I'm sure I know Brady is friends with. So yeah, would he love that? Cool. Are the Titans? They have talent around them? Yeah, they do. And Ryan Tannehill, I mean, they're going to have to probably franchise him or do something to almost like another 1 year prove it deal, like prove to us that you can do this again over the course of a 16-game season. And Tannehill, I give him credit for reviving his career in Tennessee, and also I give Vrabel credit for making the tough decision to sit Mariota down. Like, when that happens, that's got to be really difficult. Was he in his second year as a head coach in the NFL, and you got to sit down the number 1 overall pick. And it worked out for your team. You almost made it to the Super Bowl. Now Marcus Mariota, you think of all these quarterbacks that are on the market now. That's nuts. And to think Tom Brady is going to be on the free agent market. Tennessee wouldn't be a bad destination because their defense can play. They got to re-sign Derrick Henry. They have weapons on the outside. Their offensive line can play at an elite level at times. So it wouldn't be a bad situation for him. I just don't see it happening.
Me neither. I mean, they're very physical. They're obviously a run-first team now. They do have weapons on the edges, but is it worth? I mean, if they're going to have to break off Derrick Henry, like he's going to get the bag. So is Brady worth giving him $30 million a year when they have all these other free agents and holes they're going to need to fill? I'm not so sure Tannehill can't do the same thing for you, getting $13 less million or
you
whatever.
Saying Tannehill and Tom Brady are on the same
I'm not
level?
I'm not saying that at all.
Connor's going to strangle him.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it makes more sense for them, I think, to just stick with Tannehill instead of giving all that money to Tom Brady when you have all these other holes that you need to fill still.
Yeah. Man, Andy Dalton's out there too.
Yeah.
Not yet. He's going to be most likely if the Bengals decide to pull the trigger and draft Joe Burrow #1 overall, which it seems like a no-brainer at this moment, but you don't know. You never know what the Bengals are going to do. I was on the Bengals for a season. Loved it. Had a great time. Didn't end well. My season there was the year that we got like 60 yards of penalties in one play and lost the game to the Steelers, and Antonio Brown got knocked out.
Yep.
And before Antonio Brown had some more off-the-field situations going on, which I'm going to touch on with – I'm going to ask Bill Romanowski here in about 15 minutes when he comes on, like maybe what he would say to Antonio Brown. Romanowski is never scared, never shied away from anything off the field. It seems like on the field he makes no apologies, and who knows, maybe he has some good info, but – yeah, a lot of great free agent. Like I can't remember another time where veteran quarterbacks that have played at a very, very high level are going to be on the market.
Yeah,
going to be changing teams.
I don't think it's ever been like this.
No. Mariota, Andy Dalton, Tannehill, kind of. Tom Brady, Phil Rivers, Bridgewater. Wow. Anybody else? It's a lot of studs that are going to be.
And then I guess Tampa still needs to decide what they're going to do with Jameis.
What would you do with Jameis?
Not giving him $30 to $35 million.
Just throws a lot of interceptions, huh? It's scary.
Right.
Like he can throw 5 or 6 touchdowns, and he might have 5 interceptions in the same game.
That's what I mean. He can win you the game with his arm, but he can also just as easily lose the game for you with his arm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but it goes back to what I want to talk about Taysom Hill a little bit. Taysom Hill told the Saints, like, I'm a franchise quarterback, and whether or not New Orleans thinks that, like, he doesn't want to leave, but he will leave if he has to, if they don't view him as a franchise quarterback. Now, he will be a restricted free agent, meaning he can go out there, I guess, and entertain offers from other teams, but the Saints have the ability to match whatever somebody else offers them. And then you'd have to give away a draft pick depending on where you tender him. And they're right now they're going to say they're going to middle tender him.
Yeah, it says as reported they're going to use the second tier tender on him.
Okay, so then it's like what, $3-4 million a
like
year, and a second round pick.
Right. Yep.
Okay, that's what a team would have to give the Saints to sign him.
Mm-hmm.
If the Saints choose to not match whatever offer, and if somebody offers Taysom Hill a franchise quarterback deal, like a multi-year long-term extension, the Saints aren't going to match that.
No.
There's no way. They don't know yet. They don't even know if Drew Brees is coming back. But if Drew Brees comes back, he's their quarterback. Like, it's not – they're not going to say, oh, you're coming back. Well, it's an open competition now, Drew.
Yeah.
You're 27 for you in the league as a starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. But it's you, Teddy, and Taysom all going to duke it out starting July 27th when camp opens. Like, that's not happening. So we're going to have to see what Drew Brees does before they figure out what they're going to do with Taysom Hill.
I mean, would you, like you mentioned, he's thrown 15 passes. He's electric. I mean, he's like, I think I said this earlier in the year. I feel like he's one of the best gadget players in the last, like, 15 years. Like, you can line him up anywhere and he can make an impact, but 15 passes, like, there's just not a lot of body of work in there.
He's awesome for what he's doing right now for the Saints. Like, at his spot duty, is he a running back? Is he playing wildcat quarterback? He's got a cannon. He can throw the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's weird that he's, 30 years old, but he's so physical. Like, he's so difficult to tackle. He creates a lot of matchup issues. He may catch a 75-yard touchdown pass, and they're going to make poor Taysom Hill line up on the kickoff team and cover the kickoff.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy to me. Like, come on, man, get this dude a break. He's a bona fide star now, and I think he's an absolute freak. I just don't know if he's a polished quarterback to take every single snap for a team all throughout the season and to get it done. I just don't know. I need to see him throw a little bit more.
And do you also think that a byproduct of his success might be Sean Payton just knowing exactly how to use him, where to line him up, like the exact situations to use him? Like, do you think that translates to most other teams as well?
Sean Payton is a brilliant play caller and an offensive mind. I mean, he's really, really good at that. So, yeah, it's definitely a huge factor in why Taysom Hill is so good, but Taysom Hill is the one making all the plays,
Because,
making everybody miss, run everybody over. That's not Sean Payton.
The Packers had him, and they cut him.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that was 4 years ago or whatever, and that was probably still when he was wanting to play quarterback, and that's it. But I don't know. I mean,
it creates a little issue for your team, though, too. Like Taysom Hill, obviously a great weapon to have. But at the same time, if you're Drew Brees, Drew can say whatever he wants publicly. Oh, I love it. Like, it's great. But he doesn't want to go leave the game for 8-10 plays a game. Like, no, if you're a quarterback, you're any position, you want to get into a rhythm. You want to play. I've done that. Even on defense, going out, okay, I'm playing base package this week, and you're running in and out the whole game. Like, you never get into a rhythm. You never feel like it's really, really difficult to do. A lot of people do it, and they do it well. But at the quarterback position, I just have a hard time. I just don't think any quarterback wants to come off the field ever in a game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would like to see him get an opportunity somewhere, or at least play some more snaps at quarterback. But like you mentioned, I mean, if Drew Brees comes back, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen in New Orleans.
Hey, if Brady's out, New England's quarterback is open. Taysom Hill might be a perfect fit there.
What if New England signed Andy Dalton? There's rumors about that, and Taysom Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously you don't have a dual quarterback. Like, Andy's your quarterback, but you use Taysom like they use him in New Orleans right now as a gadget guy. And Bill Belichick would love to have another body on special teams too. Like, that's the problem. Taysom Hill saying, I'm a franchise quarterback. I want to be paid that way, because he doesn't want to run down on kickoff team anymore. He doesn't want to be on punt team, being a gunner, getting blasted. He's great at it, and he's phenomenal, but it's just crazy to see him out there doing that after he's making plays on offense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, it's surprising that they even still did that, but I guess, if he's a weapon, you need to use him that way. And he's a team first guy, obviously, so he's never, at least until now, going to say like, nah, I'm not really trying to be doing all that kind of stuff on special teams.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to another break quick. We got Bill Romanowski coming up at 10:40 Eastern. There was a prominent football head coaching position that opened up at the college level somewhere in the Big Ten, and it was turned down by somebody, a guy that I actually know pretty well and a high-profile guy, and it's kind of a surprising story to hear that he turned it down. We'll talk about that next, the Pat McAfee Show.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no-contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G-ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no frustration, and no contract. Ever, ever, ever. Now get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a month. And now 5G ready. It's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers or at Simple Mobile dealers. Learn more at simplemobile.com. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
All right, we are back. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawks, number 1-833-622-3331. Bill Romanowski will be joining us shortly, but we're going to go out to the phones for one more call here. Let's go to Drake in Indianapolis. What do you got, Drake?
Hey, AJ. So I just wanted to ask, if Tom Brady were to leave New England, I think it would make sense to go to Las Vegas. They have the cap to pay him. They can also trade Carr for some picks and potentially draft QB to sit behind the GOAT for a year. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Vegas is so over the top, and Mark Davis would probably find a way to pay him what he wants. I just don't know if the Raiders are good enough around him. Like, I don't know if the Raiders' defense is good enough right now. I don't know if their offense is good enough. And I wonder how Tom Brady and John Gruden get along. What would that relationship be like?
I think
honestly, to me, sorry to interrupt.
No,
I was just going to say real quickly, if you think, a lot of people think that he'd be going somewhere to contend, but for the last 19 years or so, the Pats have won 16 divisional titles. If he was going somewhere to win, he would stay there, you think?
I guess, but I mean, I think that's part of the reason we haven't seen him re-sign or that he is a free agent, because he may not be super happy with what they're doing, the direction they're going, and when he feels like he's been taking a hometown discount and they haven't really surrounded him with the pieces he feels like he needs to win a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. And I think that the Raiders do have a young core that would benefit from having Tom Brady in the organization and, having a quarterback that would be able to completely understand a complicated system such as John Gruden's offense.
Well, I think it's a safe bet to say, thanks for the call, I appreciate it, man, but I think it's safe to say Tom Brady would bring a lot of value to any NFL team he went to. He's
not interested in doing that. Like, he doesn't want to go somewhere and be like, oh, I'm gonna be the guy who teaches these guys how to win and play the right way. Like, he doesn't want to do that.
And with Gruden, I've heard different things. Like, if Tom Brady goes somewhere, it's going to be like Tom Brady's offense pretty much. You're going to have to cater to the terminology to him. It's going to be Tom's stuff. I don't think John Gruden wants to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like that kind of
Gruden
guy.
is famous for having play calls that are a paragraph long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're so descriptive. There's so many things to them. Yeah, Tom can pick it up. The question is, does he want to? Does he want to have to relearn all of that and figure out new terminology? And especially for a team that I don't know, do you realistically have a chance of winning it all?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think Connor makes a good point. I don't know if he's interested in going into another division where he's going to have to play against Mahomes 2 times a year until he's done.
Mahomes is 24 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't wait him out. It's going to be a while. But we have to get to the lines. Are really excited. Our next guest here, we have Bill Romanowski joining us, one of my guy that I love to watch play. I actually read his book, My Life on the Edge. Bill Romanowski, how's it going, man?
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very, very well. I'm curious. First off, Bill, actually, I know you're a Boston College guy. What do you feel about their new hire, Jeff Hafley, taking over as the new head coach?
You know what? I was asked that question about a week ago, and I said, I'll tell you after next season. Because, hey, in football, it's all about what do you do for me lately? And, it comes down to, what is the record going to be? And how does he recruit? And do they go and they win a bunch of games next year?
Bill, did you think about throwing your name in the ring to become the next head coach at BC?
I did not. I am not a college guy whatsoever. I don't
Why
follow
not?
college. I do follow BC, but I do not follow college football. I follow pro football only.
Why is that?
It's just I only have so much time and energy that I can commit to football, and I love professional football, so I focus on professional football.
I think I read somewhere where you were you wanted to become the Broncos coach at one point. Like, have you ever really taken it seriously and tried to get in and become a coach in the NFL?
You know what? I haven't. Because I've been running my nutrition company and it's something I'm passionate about. But would I be open to it? I think I would be open to it. It's funny. I saw Ed McAfee down at the Super Bowl, and he just took over a college program in Colorado, and we talked for about 15, 20 minutes. And I was fired up for him. He got one of my buddies' sons, Bubby Brister, to go there and play quarterback. So I'm just real happy for him, and so we were just talking about old times. It was a lot of fun.
So yeah, I mean that's it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously the McAfee genes run deep with his kids and how great they are as athletes, I guess. But as far as like the NFL, let's talk about the Super Bowl this year and Patrick Mahomes. We know how special this guy is.
Yes.
Going into this game, and I know you played for the 49ers. What? I guess how did the game play out compared to what you thought leading up to this game?
You know what? I think it played out a lot like I thought it would. Just look at the past, 2 playoff games. They fell behind, and they had to come back, in the second half and win the game. I picked the Chiefs to win the game, and I said straight up, I hope I'm wrong. I want the 49ers to win, but I do think the Chiefs are going to win. Here is my assessment of the game, because I felt like it was going to come down to a few plays. I thought the play at the end of the half to Kittle was a bad call. Mm-hmm. Then going into the second half, and particularly the fourth quarter, I felt like woulda, coulda, shoulda. I think Kyle Shanahan should have run the ball more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got some demons from his time in Atlanta at the as the offensive coordinator, and now, he's a brilliant young coach. It seems like. I guess. What are your views on the Niners going forward? I think everyone, it seems like they're all in on the Chiefs becoming a dynasty, most likely. Like, what are your thoughts for the Niners? Do they have a chance for that?
I think they have a chance. It's, to me, it always comes down to coach quarterback. You got Jimmy G, and I think Jimmy G showed all of us that if you're behind and you need a guy to drive down the field and score, he may not be that guy. Mm-hmm. So you better not get from behind if you want to win games, if you're the 49ers moving forward with Jimmy G. Or something has got to change within his play that he can go out there and prove that it does not matter. No different than Patrick Mahomes. They're behind in that game, and they need to go down and score. And what does he do? He wills his team to go down and get it done. Mm-hmm. We have, the 49ers, I say the 49ers had it right there. So if the 49ers, that's one thing they need to be able to change, and that's coach quarterback. Kyle is brilliant, and maybe that is something that can develop in Jimmy G. I don't know. It just seems to be certain quarterbacks have that knack to where it doesn't matter how many points they're down, they will come back and win a game for you. Right now, Jimmy G does not have that.
Is it something that he can cultivate, that he can find a way to become that guy, or are you born with it, and do some guys have it and there's just no chance of getting it?
You know what? That is the $1 million question right there. And you only know if you're born with it if you do it. Mm-hmm. And that is a combination of the plays that your head coach puts in and the receivers you have, the offensive line you have, and the will you have in that huddle when you call that play and you say, man, let's go get it done. I was fortunate. I got to play with a guy, Joe Montana. He had it. Steve Young had it. John Elway had it. Some guys have it, some don't.
How quickly do you know that these guys have it? Like, if you didn't know about their resume and the history, like when you see them face to face, you mentioned just legendary quarterbacks right there you played with. Is there something about, like, do they carry themselves a certain way, like day in and day out, that you just know, like, something special about that guy?
Well, there's one guy that developed it over time, and I will say that's Rich Gannon.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I played with him, in Oakland, oh my God, Rich was a phenomenal leader, and he had grit and toughness, and he was just going to find a way to grind and get it done. But in the Super Bowl, we fell short, and there were a lot of interceptions thrown in that game that really, made it hard. At the end of the day, I think certain guys are born with it. They have the right head coach, everything just kind of aligns for them, and they're able to get that done.
Speaking of incredibly talented guys, I mean, we mentioned those quarterbacks. It makes me think of Antonio Brown and his situation right now. Do you think there's any chance that Antonio Brown plays in the NFL again?
That is a good question, because I worked with him a little bit last off season, and when I first met him, and this was just, I lined up my people, the guys that I worked with when I played, my track coach, the different therapists, all the things that I used to do 20 years ago. I wanted to know if it was still relevant today, and sure enough it is, because after 8 weeks, he was running high 4.3s. So he went from, running, in the five low 4.5s to, high 4.3s. Do I think he's ever going to play? I hope to God he is able to, because I like comeback stories. Mm-hmm. I think he's got therapy to do. I think he's got apologies to do. I think he's got to get his family right. He's got to get his head right. And, so I hope that he is able to do something moving forward, and he's able to make amends with all the people and with the NFL, because he has closed a lot of doors. Mm-hmm. And I hope they will open again for him, but he's got one hell of a mountain to climb.
What do you think was the main issue for him in Oakland? I know when he signed there, it seemed like, new fresh start. He's getting all this money. Things are going to go well. And then it was like from the day he walked into the building, there just seemed to be issue after issue.
I think at the end of the day, he was not able to make that decision. It was actually done with a trade. And at the end of the day, I think Antonio Brown wanted to make the decision himself. And the fact that he was able to get released and make a decision to go to New England, that's what he wanted. And the fact that he was traded, I think it bothered him. Maybe there was a part of him that didn't think they could win in Oakland. Mm-hmm. I think they would have been a heck of a lot better last year if they had him. But, I think that deep down inside was the main issue.
Yeah, and he went to New England for a short amount of time, and then obviously he's going through some things off the field, trying to get back into the league. We'll see what happens. But Tom Brady's going to be a free agent, which is crazy to even say or to think about. Do you think there's any chance that he doesn't go back to the Patriots?
There's a part of me that kind of hopes that he sees what another team is like. Mm-hmm. For me, the fire that it fueled inside of me every time that I went to another team, it did wonders for me. It did wonders for my play. It did wonders for my career. And I was glad I was able to do that. I think the Oakland Raiders are prime and ready to receive Tom Brady as a free agent, and I think they will give him anything he wants. You have one of the best offensive lines. They need another receiver or two, and then they need to stack their defense, and that'll be a good place for Tom Brady.
Do you think is it realistic? Obviously, they will give him all kinds of money. They'll try to build up the offense and do what they can defensively. Is it realistic? You know the owner would love to have him, but is it something where you think Tom actually, when he sits down, thinks, okay, yeah, this is something I could see myself doing?
I think for him, it's closer to where he lives. I think there is a possibility. I think there's also a magic that John Gruden brings to the table to attract a guy like Tom Brady. Because who does not, on this planet, who would not want to play for John Gruden? Tell me. I don't think there's a guy that wouldn't want to play for John Gruden right now. I'd cut off my right arm to play for him right now.
There may be a couple young, scared quarterbacks that don't want to take that chance.
So
you and Gruden, I mean, yeah, he seems to be a fiery guy. He's fun, and we have to. We're up against a hard break here. But Bill, I wanted to really just thank you. Appreciate you coming on. I loved you. I read your first book. It was awesome. You're a colorful character, and I just encourage you to continue to do great things.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Had a lot of fun.
All right, Bill Romanowski. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Bill. It's
Boy, Bill.
appreciate you. And if anyone hasn't read his first book, My Life on the Edge, it's an entertaining read.
Yeah, I'd be interested to read that for sure.
It's a legit, like, pull the curtain back, and he tells you exactly what he was feeling, what he was at each team he played for, what he feels like now, his post-football life. Like, it was very, very it was fun to read. It's a fun, fast read if you're a reader.
Does he talk about his acting career at all in it?
I don't know. I forget now that you say. I don't think he did, because when he wrote it, I don't think he had done The Longest Yard and a lot of other things. But he's done some movies, man.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. He's a talented guy.
Yeah, not bad.
His actually supplement line does pretty well too. I think he has different things. But we're up against it. We are down with the first hour. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Tuesday, February 11th. We will be back with a fresh hour coming up. We have Sean Merriman coming up in about 40 minutes. Stay right there. We will be back shortly.
One by one, it's happening. People are freeing themselves from the hassle and frustration of their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Simple Mobile. Truly unlimited high-speed talk, text, and data on a 5G-ready network. And no contract. Ever. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, here we are. We're back to Pat McAfee Show, February 11th. This is Tuesday of the year 2020. And I forgot to mention my guys in the first hour of the show here. In hour 2, we got our guy Ty Schmidt is hanging out with us, obviously helping me out the whole time. We got Billy running all kind of audio, video situations, whatever he does. Cuban Zeet, do not call me Cuban Zito. I got reprimanded from Pat shortly after the show yesterday. We got Little Jay McAfee, and by little I don't mean little. He's in there. I don't know why I say little, and then big Boston Connor back there on the phone for us. Connor, no slight to you, Jay. Little is better, actually. But yeah, Cuban Zete. I'm sorry, Zito.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes you didn't get the right name in the beginning, so doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. It's always good to start off like that day one of a 5-day week by calling people the wrong name. So I'm glad that I did that. But I'm excited to be here in hour 2 in the studio with Pat's wonky chair. I don't know what he does with this thing when I'm not here. But you know what? Something I teased a little bit earlier that I haven't gotten to. I mentioned something about Michigan State and their football program. So Mark D'Antonio stepped down as the head coach, resigned. Didn't technically get fired, really. He just retired, basically. Right. But he's staying on in some capacity at Michigan State. Some kind of role, whatever that may be, consultant, whatever. Maybe it was worked out that he had to because he got paid $4.1 million in a bonus, a month ago?
Something like that,
Not even a month ago. So he's in there in some kind of role. So naturally, I was actually doing SiriusXM, doing a radio show right as he resigned or he retired, and we threw out there right away. I mean, it was all over. Hey, Pat Narduzzi, who's the head coach at Pitt, and Luke Fickell, head coach at University of Cincinnati, seem like great replacements. They both have ties to D'Antonio. They would love to get in the Big Ten, both get back into the Big Ten. And Luke Fickell interviewed for the job. It seemed like he had it, and then he said thanks, but no thanks. Gave him the stiff arm, gave him the Heisman, said I'm good to go. I'm going to stay here at Cincinnati. I actually played for Luke Fickell. He was my linebacker coach at Ohio State years ago. Luke's an amazing coach, amazing dude. I don't know as much about Narduzzi, but now where does Michigan State go? It was like a done deal. Luke is our guy. There was rumors about like how much the deal, like 5-year deal, how much he was getting per year. And then Luke says thanks, but no thanks. I got a good thing going here in Cincinnati. Luke's got 6 kids as well. So it would take a huge opportunity, and not like with the money, but just the school. Everything has to be the right fit, I think, for him to leave Cincinnati, because he can't just get up and move with 6 kids. It's a serious situation for Luke. But where does Michigan State go from here? Who do they hire?
I have no idea. I think you look at it, too. It's obviously nowhere near the magnitude of, like, the Penn State scandal stuff, but they've been in the news recently with just, like, a lot of things coming out that
gymnastics, football. Because basketball doesn't have any.
I think there was some stuff with basketball.
For, like, the last 3 years, I feel like, right? Because Larry Nassar is what kicked it off.
Mm-hmm.
He was the team doctor for the Olympic team. Is that right? And he was Michigan State's team doctor.
Right.
And had all kinds of awful things. He's serving a life sentence.
I think, yeah.
Just a terrible, terrible human being. But what's weird is that doesn't have any relation to what has gone on with some like players in the football team, right? Have had some issues over the last couple of years, some like sexual harassment or sexual assault allegations. It's not tied to Larry Nassar at all, but it's almost like people lump them all together.
Right.
Unfairly, probably. So
for sure. But it just, I don't know. And I think that side of the conference too is, it's stacked in terms of the Big Ten. Not easy to win on that side of the division. What is it, the heroes or the legends?
It used to be. Now it's the East. It used to be heroes and legends, I believe, or legends and leaders.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And I had no idea when they went to that switch. I didn't even know, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, who do you think's going to win the Legends division? I'm like, what the hell is that? Who are the Legends? I don't know. And it was so East and West now, much better. But you're right, it's tough sledding there. You got Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
Yeah,
good luck.
Right, and that like you mentioned, I mean, that it seemed like they had kind of put most of their chips in the Luke Fickell basket, because for all intents and purposes, it seemed like D'Antonio, excuse me, that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I don't know if they necessarily anticipated that.
The timing was weird.
Right.
The timing was during the season. They went 7-6 these last 2 seasons, and there was all kind of talk: is D'Antonio going to retire? Are they going to fire him? Is he going to step down? He already had his offensive staff on this like 1-year prove-it deals coming into this season, and he shuffled offensive staff around to where they were trying to find a way to create some kind of explosiveness on offense. So guys got I don't know exactly the positions, but guys went from like offensive line coach to tight ends, and then the running backs coach to the receivers coach. Like he moved people around, he shuffled them around, but he didn't bring anybody else in, and their offense did not consistently play at a high level. Their defense has been good over the years. This year, not as good consistently, I guess, and it didn't work out. So it was kind of a weird thing. So after the season came and went, and we waited a week or two after the season was over, and he's still there. You just assumed he was going to be back. I mean, they're starting their offseason with winter workouts, spring ball, recruiting, signing day just happened, and then all of a sudden, bam, he just retires. The timing just seemed very, very odd and puts Michigan State kind of in a weird spot. So it just made me think they've been going back and forth for a while talking, I'm guessing, and whatever he was trying to get from the executives there, whoever, the AD, maybe he didn't, and they just decided, okay, I'm going to step away now.
Yeah, because I saw very recently that a couple of recruits tweeted that, like they had just signed with Michigan State and hadn't heard anything from him in terms of like, hey, I'm not going to be around next year, like after you sign. And I know a lot of those guys were pissed off, rightfully so.
Yeah, would you be pissed off if you were committed to a team? Say you signed on the dotted line and the coach takes off.
I think it depends. Can't you in situations like that, doesn't the NCAA typically let you reopen your recruiting?
I think there's something, yeah. I don't know if you've actually signed. I mean, if you're committed, you can do whatever you want. But if you've officially signed your letter of intent to play there and the coach decides to take off, yeah, maybe it's like a special circumstance thing where the NCAA comes in. I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule for that. But, yeah, I mean, it changes things. I know I went to Ohio State and Jim Tressel was the head coach. I loved everything about him, but I'm an Ohio guy, so I was kind of had Ohio State ties, and I wanted to be there. I would have been upset, I guess, if he would have left after I signed, but I don't think I would have decommitted. I didn't have a ton of options either. I mean, it wasn't like I could go to a bunch of other big-time schools, so I would have stayed. But, I mean, everyone has their own situation and what they're going through, I guess. But now high school kids know, like, okay, who's in front of me on the depth chart? Like, am I going to – does it look like I'm going to be able to jump in and play my freshman year, my sophomore year? Like, they know everything. They know the coaching staff. They know who the coaches are tied to. Like, they know everything that could potentially get them to the league, which is what they all come into college wanting to do.
Well, and I think the transfer portal, I mean, obviously more so with quarterbacks, but that's kind of changed everything a little bit. It's like, all right, well, if I only got like a year or two left, this kind of thing happens. It's like, all right, well, I'll just get my degree and then go somewhere else and put myself in just as good of a position to get drafted the following year.
Yeah, the transfer portal, it's a good thing, I think, but it gives some guys unrealistic expectations. Joe Burrow is a graduate transfer, goes to LSU, plays out of his mind, is unbelievable, most likely a number one overall pick, wins the Heisman, wins the national championship. Jalen Hurts goes to Oklahoma, has a heck of a career at Oklahoma. I mean, there's a lot of big-time guys that have had success transferring. A lot of them have graduated. They didn't just take off after their freshman or sophomore year. A guy like Tate Martell is in Miami now, and now he's got a situation. They have the Houston quarterback coming in now to Miami. So I'm like, is Tate going to transfer again? How does that work?
I don't know. I mean, all that stuff it's kind of hard to process. But do you think that a coordinator from the NFL would this be the type of position that someone would be interested in? I know it said the Michigan State was looking at Robert Salah, and he's got some Michigan ties with being at Central Michigan and Saginaw Valley State, but he turned down an interview. Like he didn't even want to do it. And you'd think, I mean, granted, his stock is about as high as it could be right now, albeit losing in the Super Bowl. But do you see like a coordinator from somewhere going and potentially taking that job?
Yeah, it could definitely happen. Now, there's a lot of guys that get to the NFL and they don't want to coach in college. I mean, it's a very, very different type thing, coaching in college compared to the NFL. Like, I have buddies that coach at both levels, and all of my buddies that coach in college, I ask them, like, oh, do you want to go to the league and coach? They're like, yeah, I'd love to, man, but it's tough to break in. It's tough to get a gig. You could go be like a quality control guy or something. You don't want to go from some big-time college and you're a position coach or something. You don't really want to start over unless you truly want to get into the league. But in college coaches, they're never off the clock. The recruiting thing is, I think, what kills some guys that are in the NFL from going back and coaching in college. Like, if you're an NFL coach, once the season ends, it's almost like a 9 to 5 for these guys. It's nice. They don't have to be there 18 hours a day like they do throughout the whole season. They kind of have a nice schedule. Sometimes in the spring they can go out and play golf in the afternoon. Like, they have a good life. In college, no, you're recruiting all the time. They have all these visits that they have to host players on. If a player tweets at them, you got to get back to them, even if you have your secretary trying to keep you like abreast to all of it. It's just a full-time gig trying to recruit and take care of these guys. And if you can't recruit, you can't coach in college.
Well, it'll be interesting, too, to see if – I mean, Michigan State is obviously always very gritty, good on defense. But if they were looking to, like, maybe change their philosophy a little bit, I think you look – I mean, if like Matt LaFleur has ties to Michigan. His younger brother, passing game coordinator with the Niners. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like something like that could potentially make sense. I don't know. It's tough. I just feel like if you want, to try to find the next big guy coming from the Shanahan McVay coaching tree or whatever, that could be an interesting choice.
If you're a coach looking at the Michigan State job, does Dan Antonio being still in the building kind of deter you from, going there and kind of taking over?
No, I don't. I guess it would depend on what his role is. Like if you come interview for the Michigan State football head coaching position, you would have to know what his position is. Like, is D'Antoni going to be meddling in my meetings every day? Is he going to be showing up? Like, I know when Urban Meyer turned over the reins to Ryan Day at Ohio State, Urban wasn't there meddling in Ryan Day's meetings. He wasn't telling him how to do things. He was there as a resource when Ryan Day wanted to talk or ask him a question, but he wasn't there daily. So I think that's the thing. And I'm sure – I don't know what D'Antonio's title is going to be when he is there. But what if, like, how different would it be for Michigan State? So we know, like, Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin, they got hired up. They're gone. They're coaching. They took new jobs. What if one of them was available? But what if a guy like Graham Harrell, who I played with in Green Bay, is the offensive coordinator for USC right now? He's under the Mike Leach, like, coaching tree, played for Mike Leach. His coach for him was the coordinator at North Texas for a while and had a lot of success there and then went to USC, possibly in line to become the next USC head coach if Clay Helton doesn't work out. Graham's getting a lot of money to be the offensive coordinator. What if Michigan State came after a guy like him? Like, hey, so, and this is the thing, too, which you never would think. Michigan State also isn't selling tickets like they used to. Mm-hmm. You need to get people excited about your program again. It'd be a completely different look. But what if you brought in this air raid, spread them out, new age type offense to Michigan State, and you tried to find a way to keep that tough, gritty, physical defense, too? Like, that may be a route they have to go try to entertain, not only to try to win more games and to compete with those great teams in their conference, the East, not the legendary leaders like they used to be at the Big Ten when that was the dumb 3 or 4 year thing they did for a while. But, yeah, I think that would be interesting to see one of those, like these young offensive play callers. They're the talk of the town, and I don't think they're going anywhere.
Well, and for the way the college football game is going, it makes sense that you would have to adapt to that. I mean, there's a lot of good recruits in the state of Michigan. You start airing it out a little bit, you might get some more of those athletes who typically go to Michigan or Ohio State. I mean, if they have another option, you get some of those fringe guys there. Like, that could work.
Yeah, it could. And you don't have to – I think you can find more quarterbacks to play in that air raid style offense, too, than, like, the traditional drop back QB, like, oh, he's got to be 6'3" and big, tall, sturdy arm. No, like, you get rid of the ball quick, and you get guys in space, and you run a million offensive plays when you run that air raid type offense. We're going to go to the calls quickly here before another break. Let's go to Brandon in Indiana. Brandon, what's happening? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, AJ Hawk? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing well. What's happening, man? You got a question about the Niners in the Super Bowl?
Well, just not necessarily the Niners, just necessarily about every NFL or NCAA or XFL team out there. Do you think in the fourth quarter that those boys start getting gassed and they can't keep it up? What is it like in training camp and stuff like that for conditioning for you guys?
Oh, well, I appreciate the call, Brandon. So I don't know if he's talking about both teams or just the Niners, whatever, but yes, you do get tired. And people will say this. They'll watch, Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match a couple years ago, and Conor looked pretty good. Like, he looked all right. But guess what? Conor got tired. He even mentioned it afterwards. He tired himself out. He said he didn't conserve his energy like he wanted. He wasn't efficient. Guess what? I understand it's the Super Bowl, biggest game of your life, but you're still a human. You do get tired. Like, you'll see a guy tap his helmet to come out or something, like an outside rusher or something, and I'll be sitting there watching games with people and like, how in the world can this guy get tired? It's the biggest game of his life. And I was like, that's exactly why he is getting tired. You have this crazy build-up, the 2-week build-up to the game. You have all the hype surrounding it. You have a 45-minute halftime show where they're lip-syncing, all kind of stuff, and middle-aged dads everywhere are so excited about the halftime show while I'm sitting in the locker room getting cold and trying to stretch out and figure out a way to play the second half. So you have this huge adrenaline dump in the Super Bowl, and you got to find a way to kind of level it out as the game goes. So, yeah, both teams were tired in the fourth quarter. That's how it happens. That's how it works. Now, yeah, who managed it the best, who who used those 2 weeks the best leading up to the game to where you conditioned, but you didn't burn the legs out. You didn't go in with dead legs. Yeah, there's a million things going into it, but guess what? Everybody gets tired no matter what the stage, no matter what the situation. You're a human being. You can't not get tired.
Yeah, and I think that's where the team speed comes into. Like, you still have Tyreek Hill for just like a burst. Like, he might not be doing it on every play, but guess what? He's still going to get
Third and 15.
Exactly, 3rd and 15. He's still got 4 plays where it's like, all right, I know this is go time. Now I have to turn the burners on. I have to win here, and they did.
Yeah, that 3rd and 15, I wanted to ask Romanowski about that. The 3rd and 15, like 40-yard completion to Tyreek Hill, that the Kansas City Chiefs are probably the only offense on the planet that could run that play. It was such a late developing down the field route. Tyreek Hill is one of the only guys that's probably fast enough to get there, but Mahomes also knew how much time he had to buy. He does a great job of like drifting back in the pocket too and kind of leaning back and making these throws that not many people can make because he knows he needs that extra half second to let those routes develop down the field. So I think that was the play of the game, that 3rd and 15. I think there's about 5.5 minutes left in the game that they completed to Tyreek Hill. That was just an absolute backbreaker to the Niners defense. And I'm sure Shanahan and Salah and all those guys are going to be pretty upset about that when they see that clip run year after year after year. But we got to get to a break. We have Sean Merriman coming up here at 11:40 Eastern. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Thanks for coming. Come right back.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees and no contract ever. That's our best deal ever. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
All right, welcome back. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I am AJ Hawk, 1-833-622-3331. And I want to go to Jared in Green Bay. He has a question for us about what it was like there. And Jared, what's happening, man? What's on your mind?
What's up, AJ? How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going well. What's going on with you?
So, not too much. So you obviously played a couple of years with Favre and quite a few with Aaron. What's that like being in the locker room with those guys, and how does it kind of change the culture as compared to, like, for example, when you were in Cincinnati or somewhere else? I mean, those guys are two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and how do they really just change what's going on in the locker room, the mentality, and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I appreciate the call, Jared. I played 2 years with Brett Favre. I was drafted the year after Aaron Rodgers was drafted to Green Bay. So when I got there, he was the backup, and he was just tearing us apart defensively, running the scout team offense and running the cards against us week in and week out. So I saw how special he was from the jump. But honestly, when I was there, or when Brett was there during my first 2 years, like, there was no animosity really between he and Aaron. If there was, it never showed in the locker room, in the media, anything. I think Aaron handled it beautifully, what it was like to play behind Favre. And then the toughest part was the transition from Favre to Rodgers. When, if people remember, Brett retired in the offseason, had like an emotional press conference. So he retired. Ted Thompson, the GM at the time, moved on, like said, hey, like, Aaron's our guy. Aaron's going to be our quarterback. But then all of a sudden Brett said, hey, wait a second, I want to come back. And Brett wanted to come back and play for Green Bay late in the summer, I think, like right when training camp was starting. So that training camp was really weird because the fans hadn't really been able to – had the opportunity to see how special Aaron was. They just knew Brett had been here for 15, 16 years, whatever, and Brett's a legend. Like, Brett's faced the NFL for so long, so they wanted Brett to come back. Not everybody, but there was – Green Bay people are probably the nicest people on the planet. Mm-hmm. They truly are. And they would yell at training camp a little bit, like how they want Brett and all of these things, whatever. They weren't, like, too mean or whatever, but it would have been really difficult not only to come in and step into the starting role for the Green Bay Packers as the quarterback for the first time, but – to deal with replacing the legend in Brett Favre, to deal with all these questions from the media, from everybody else. Your teammates have to answer about it. Like, I remember we had, it's called like the Jersey scrimmage or whatever we called it. Family night, they called it. We had a scrimmage in the stadium 1 week into training camp every year. Sold out, 65,000 people at Lambeau Field to watch us run our one offense against your two defense, and then your one defense against your two offense. So it's just not a fun thing to watch. Like, just to watch us practice, 65,000 people. I remember in the locker room getting ready for that, and there was a team like a little lounge right behind the locker room, and on the TV in the lounge there's video of Brett Favre landing at the Green Bay airport in his private plane, and him and his wife Deanna are getting off the plane. I'm like, is Brett back? Like, is Brett on the team? What are we doing? But no, he was coming back, I guess, to try to talk to Ted Thompson to try to get back. But obviously Ted, give him credit, it was like, no, sorry, like, we've moved on. And that's when Brett got traded to the Jets then and played for the Jets and then the Vikings for 2 years. Aaron handled it beautifully, I feel like. But there was no – looking back, I mean, we were pretty naive to the situation, but we were aware of it mainly because we had to answer questions daily from the local media about how we were handling the whole situation.
I think just from a fan's perspective, looking back on it, obviously there was a big contingent of people who wanted him to stay. And I don't think anyone faulted him because he obviously thought he was still the guy. He could still play at, the top of his potential. But the way he jerked around everyone, like, it was like, hey, in March, it was like, hey, Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward. And then Favre 3 months later says he wants to come back. And then, he might go somewhere else. And then he lands in Green Bay. It was like, I don't know. I personally was ready for him to go. But then I know a lot of people, I think, once Favre went to that NFC Championship, and I think you guys went like 6-10 Aaron's first year, it was like, hey, what are we doing? How could we get rid of this guy when he looks like he was still in his prime? Yeah,
that was, I believe, my only losing season in Green Bay. I was there 9 seasons. That was my third year. We went 6-10. That was Aaron's first year starting. Guess what? It wasn't his fault. Our defense was poor. We were not good. We let him down, no question. The following year, Dom Capers came in, who Dom just took a job with the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. So congrats to Dom Capers. The guy has coached in the NFL for 227 years. The guy is amazing. I love Dom. He is the man. But now he's in Minnesota as a defensive assistant, doing something there. He was with the Jags last year, I believe. But yeah, you're right. We went 6-10, and Brett went to the NFC Championship game that year. Wow, and he beat the hell out of us twice. Came in to Lambeau Field, which was weird for him wearing purple, coming in with the Vikings. Played very well, beat us. Then we go, I don't know the order of it, and when we went to Minnesota, though, and played Monday night game, beat us again. I'm like, geez, we can't beat this dude. Like, he was playing well. He was on fire. And luckily, the next year was the year that we went to the Super Bowl and won, and we finally beat Brett in the Minnesota Vikings. But it was not easy to do.
Well, and I remember, I think it might have been Favre's last game as a Packer. He threw like 4 picks in the NFC Championship.
That freezing cold game, Tom Coughlin, his face that was all like cracked and red and had Vaseline on it. It was Lawrence Tynes somehow drains like a 50-yard field goal at negative 700 degrees. And wins the game for him. But I think Brett's last pass was an interception.
Yeah, and Rodgers earlier that year had gotten some time against like the Cowboys and looked good. That's when, personally, I was like, all right, we got the guy. We got him.
Like, I obviously didn't have any pull, and no players have any pull on anything, but I knew how special Aaron was just from watching him play in practice, watching him just light us up. And then you're right. During that season, Brett went out for like maybe 3 quarters of the Dallas game, and Aaron played awesome. Like, was running all over the place, was completing balls everywhere. You could see how strong his arm was, like how much energy he had. So we knew, you got a little glimpse of how good he could be right there, but we already knew. Like, guys that are on the team, we already knew that, hey, whenever this does happen, whenever Brett decides to retire, whenever we move on officially, guess what? We're in good hands. And Aaron's still doing it, man. We'll see how much longer he does. I don't know. Why couldn't he do it 5 or 6 more years?
Yeah, why not 10?
Phil Rivers, how about Phil Rivers says he knows he's not going to be with the Chargers, but wherever he goes, it's going to be a maximum of 2 years, Phil says. Which I think it's cool, being honest, being open and upfront. And he said, I think he has quoted something like, hey, let's be honest. If I go out there and we're terrible and we have no chance to win, maybe I'll probably just call it a day. I'll be done. But if we play pretty well and I feel good about it, I'm going to come back for another one. But max 2 years, he says. And I know he moved his whole family. He's got like 9 kids. He moved them to Florida, right? And the Dolphins have an uncertain situation at quarterback. Well, the Jags have Gardner Minshew, I guess. And Foles, we got to see what they do. What the Tampa Bay Bucks may. Where's the situation at with Jameis Winston? Where are they on his contract right now? Do we know?
I think at this point they're still considering franchising him, but I know he wants, $30 to $35 million in a new deal.
Would you do it? Would you give him that?
No, absolutely not.
No way.
Absolutely.
Is there
not.
anybody jumping on that Jameis bandwagon though and saying absolutely give this guy a long-term contract, $30-35 million a year? Anyone do it? Cuban Zeke? I thought you were nodding your head like, yeah, do it.
No. I'll stay away from him at all times.
Why?
I just don't trust him.
You don't try. Well, he turns the ball over at a high rate.
He also plays with 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So if you throw him on a different team without Godwin and Evans, I mean, he could crumble. He might throw 50 picks.
Man, yeah, it's weird when he flashes and he plays well. He wows people. That's why you can blind them to those poor throws sometimes that tend to go to the defense.
Is it possible to blame coaching on that?
I mean, no. a little bit. I mean, coaches, I say all the time, the most important position on a coaching staff at any level when it comes to football is the offensive play caller. Whether that's your head coach, whoever it may be, whoever calls the offensive plays has the ability to impact the game the most. The defensive coordinator who calls the plays for the defense, yeah, they can have a huge impact, but they're still reacting a little bit to what the offense does. You can't completely dictate the pace and everything if you're the defensive coordinator. If you're the offensive coordinator, you can control everything. You can dictate what you want. The great ones, Josh McDaniels does it. Kyle Shanahan does it, although in the Super Bowl he's getting criticized a little bit. I think McVay is one of those guys. They're all over the place. McDaniels is a stud. I love what McDaniels does. He doesn't have any ego in his play calling. You could play the Patriots in one game, they may run the ball 38 times. Next time you play them, they may run the ball 8 times. They don't care. They're going to take what you give them, and that's what great play callers do offensively. So coaches can do stuff to put a player in poor situations, I guess, but when you consistently turn the ball over again and again, you can't blame coaching. And what he has, Byron Leftwich was his quarterback coach now.
Yep.
And Bruce Arians is a kind of a QB guru whisperer. They love what he can do. He seems to like Jameis. I know he had some comments after the season that seemed like, hey, maybe I'm not 100% all in on Jameis, but they have to make a decision, man. Like, you got to be scared to think about if you want to give him a 5 or 6 year deal.
Well, it's the same deal. Like they have issues elsewhere. Like they need to get better. I mean, granted, it wasn't all on him. You know, like their defense wasn't great. I mean, like they have other things that they need to shore up. So you know, you give him $35 million, that kind of hinders what you can do going forward.
Yeah, it's scary. We're gonna go to the phones here quickly. Let's go to James in Ohio. What's up, James?
Hey, Jay, what's up?
What's happening, man? You got some questions about what, the XFL?
Yeah, on Sunday with the Battlehawks, they said a guy named Kenny Robinson was at West Virginia for 2 years, but was academically unavailable. So he left, and now he's playing in the XFL, but he's still able to be drafted. Is that going to show other people, hey, all we got to do is just jump straight to there after high school? Or do they go for a year or two in college, then to the XFL?
Oh, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think we mentioned this yesterday a little bit. It's almost like the basketball route when you go overseas. You leave high school and you go play for what? You got to play a year in college now? That's the rule. They're going to get rid of that, I think, anyway. But you got to play a year. So you have to be out of high school. You got to have 3 years, right, after to become eligible for the NFL draft. So to play 3 years in the XFL, you're not going to bank on that. But if you had some kind of other situation where you weren't playing football, but you only needed one season, yeah, the XFL seems like it could be something if you're that confident in your abilities. If you're a quarterback,
yeah, if you're a quarterback, I think it would make sense. But do you think physically, like, would a guy be ready at 18, coming right out of high school to go play in the XFL? Obviously, it's not the NFL, but there are still NFL guys out there. You know, like how much did your body change the first 2 years you were at Ohio State?
Some guys would be ready, like a Julius Peppers,
right?
Guy like that played with Julius, like guy like that. Me, no, not so much. I mean, when I was in high school, I started my freshman year. I weighed 145 pounds. I gained like 25, 30 pounds a year, just being a meathead and deadlifting and squatting and doing stupid things. But I think I was 220 when I showed up to Ohio State and I wouldn't have been ready for the XFL. No chance, I don't think.
So it's, I mean, and you know, you got an athletic freak like Julius Peppers, like that guy's probably going to play at Alabama or LSU or something like that.
Khalil Mack could have made it. He could have made it work too.
There you go.
Obviously. Some quarterbacks may even be able to, but we got to stop it right there because I'm going to hold off. We have a great guest coming up in about 5 minutes. We got Sean Merriman joining us on the other side. Stay tuned. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
It's happening. People are freeing themselves from their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G ready network for just $45 a month with no contract ever. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Welcome back. I am AJ Hawk, sitting in for Pat McAfee. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Let's get right out to the hotline. We have our guest, Mr. Sean Merriman. Welcome to the show, Sean. We got him somewhere.
There he is.
Yes, there you are, Sean. What's happening, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on here. It's a good time to have you on. I know you have your LXF, Lights Out Extreme Fighting, your league you've been involved in for a long time, it seems like now, and you're deep into the MMA world. Right off the top, though, I want to ask you, what do you think about that, about John Jones? You think he deserved that victory?
You know what? It could have went either way. I know a lot of people are going to say Reyes probably should have won, but I believe it could have went either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've watched so many different people break it down and talk about it in the judging. Like, what do you think about the current judging situation in mixed martial arts?
It probably needs to change. No doubt I think that, John Jones probably would have won because it wasn't a clear win by Reyes. But at the same time, like, you can't show the cards at the end of the fight. You got to put them up and see where you are. Because one of the judges just had it out of whack, man. It was just way too much.
Mm-hmm. So you're a fan of saying there should be open scoring?
100%. 100%.
I agree. Think how exciting it would be if they're popping up the scorecards on the Jumbotron and the fighters and the trainers in the corner get to look up and say, oh, I'm down. There's this. We're going into the third and final round, and I'm down 2 rounds to nothing. Like, it's all out here, or I'm losing this fight.
Well, you got to look how the scorecards went at the end of the day, right? It was just so far-fetched. I don't think one person who watched that fight would have, I think it was like a 3-point differential. Mm-hmm. It's just nobody would have done that. So when you make big mistakes like that, you have to go and start to make changes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, there's no one there to hold these judges accountable. And if there's no one to hold you accountable, there's going to be mistakes like this made repeatedly over and over again. If you watched that fight, were you a bit surprised at how much John Anik and Joe Rogan just annihilated the judges throughout that card?
No, not at all, because it's their job, man. Like, they have to bring light to probably one of the worst we've seen in a while. I mean, that was pretty bad judging. I still probably would have gave it to John Jones, but it would have been a toss-up, right? It wouldn't have been a clear-cut decision. Reyes, I'm going to tell you something. That guy, he's on the map now forever. I mean, he came out and he did some things that no one expected for him to do. Win, lose, or draw, that dude put himself on the map.
Absolutely. I think he gained a ton of respect for people that may not have been too knowledgeable about Dom Reyes. But what about you? I know you've talked about getting in the cage and fighting. You got anything on the agenda?
No, just our next fight, man. Lights Out Extreme fighting at the Commerce Casino March 13th. This is the problem, man. I mean, look, I'm running the league. I'm doing all this other stuff. And now you got to go train. The fighting part is easy. It's the training. The 2 months of shutting everything down and being focused and not doing anything else. That's the biggest problem for me. Other than that, man, I'll be ready to go in 2 or 3 months.
So do you foresee any situation in the future where you may get inside the cage and fight?
There's a few guys that I want that I think it makes sense for. As of right now, no. But if the opportunity was big enough, 100%, man, I'm down.
Who are those guys? You trying to bring Greg Hardy into Lights Out and fight him, or what?
No, yeah, I talked to Dana about that before, and it just won't happen. Plus, Greg has made some strides over the last 6-7 months. I mean, this dude, he can really go. But I talked about Dave Bautista before. Bobby Lashley from the WWE also called me out at one point. I'm open to either one of those.
Really, Bautista? Yeah, he's a movie star now, but I know he has at least one or two professional fights, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a real athlete, and I think that with both our MMA backgrounds, people would love to see us get down.
Yeah, they would. So you're an ambassador for the LA Chargers. What exactly does that mean when you're an ambassador for them? What do they have you doing?
Just everybody listens to me. No, it's just I still work with the organization. I still, at just about every game, and when you work close to them, you have a different perspective than everybody else looking at it. Like when the whole Phillip thing went down, I kind of had a feeling like that was going to happen, because I'm there every day, so I see it.
Were you surprised at all? Like, how weird is it going to see Phillip Rivers play for another team?
If he plays, if he plays, I know he is probably he wants to get into coaching at some point in time. But if he plays, I think he still has another year or two playing at a high level. I mean, depending on where he goes.
So you're an ambassador for the LA Chargers. There's been talk they want to sell tickets. Tom Brady, are you in there pounding the table now, telling him to go out there and throw as much money as you can at Tom Brady?
No.
Why not?
No, I mean. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know Tom, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback of all time. But if you bring him out there, you possibly could be looking at the same situation with Phillip there. So there's so many other pieces to the puzzle that need to get fixed before you bring in a quarterback. The offensive line get back healthy. You got Tyrod Taylor that's still there. Cam Newton. I talked to Cam Newton in Miami about possibly coming. He wouldn't give me an answer, but I got a feeling that is a possibility.
What about so Tom Brady? It's crazy when you look at how many elite NFL quarterbacks are going to be free agents here this offseason. Do you think like Tom Brady comes back to New England, or do you think there's a better chance he plays for somebody else?
Back to New England. Mm-hmm. I think he's just testing the market, seeing what's out there, and having some fun with it for the first time in a long time. I just, at this point in his career, I don't see him going anywhere else. I just can't see it.
Yeah, why do you think it got to this point at least? I never thought we'd get to the point where Tom Brady can go explore free agency. Is there something going on behind the scenes? Does he want them to bring in some help and replace Gronk and help the O-line? Like, what's going on?
Well, one of the reasons is that he wants 30-plus a year. Mm-hmm. If you're going to keep him there, he has a salary that he wants. And two, he wants weapons. At this point of his career, man, he needs some big play guys. But it's not like they haven't tried. Gordon, they tried with AB. I mean, they have tried. It just hasn't panned out.
Yeah, what about AB? I know he's been squaring up with Logan Paul over there trying to get a fight on DAZN. Like, is AB you gonna recruit him over to LXF?
Well, the thing is, I know Logan wants it. Mm-hmm. He wants that to happen. It's really on AB's side. So, depending on when he has an opportunity to get back into the NFL, it might be a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, you never know. Like, do you think we had Bill Romanowski on earlier, and we were talking about Antonio Brown. Do you think he plays again in the NFL?
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, he's going to have to go through a lot of evaluation, a lot of not doing anything and posting and being on social networks. It's a lot he has to go through in order to get back into the NFL. One thing is, and as well as anybody else, when you have the talent that he has, you have another opportunity. But he has to be on the straight and narrow for a while before they let him back in.
Yeah, he does. Why do you think it never seemed to – it just started off on the wrong foot when he was in Oakland? It seemed like he's happy. I'm here. Gruden seems to support me. Mayock even seems to support me. And then it's like once organized things started beginning, it just all went wrong. There was the helmet fiasco, and every day there was something new. And then he's just taking random days off of training camp, which was crazy to me when the coach and the GM are saying, well, yeah, we love him here, but we're not really sure where he is. I'm thinking, man, it's training camp. Like, I was scared to death to be 30 seconds late, let alone just take 2 days off.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing for him a little bit, right? Because everyone looked at it as he was trying to get out of Oakland at first. He was trying to get out of there. He did that and started pulling the same antics with the Patriots, the team that you ultimately probably wanted to land with. And he just blew it, man. I mean, he left $30 million on the table. You can't – it's hard to recoup that type of money.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everyone loves a comeback story. We'll see what happens with AB. But actually, I'm thinking of the Super Bowl right now. Nick Bosa, this dude comes in year one, similar to how you hit the scene, coming in and just making plays, a guy that you have to kind of game plan around. Is what he did this year, is this a sustainable thing to where year in and year out he can create this much havoc?
Well, one thing I found out from my first and my second year, no one knows who you are the first year. Like, no one's game planning you. They don't care. You go make your plays. You're just some rookie that's, go out and make some big plays. The second year you come in, now all the game plan is about you. I mean, you're going to see all the formations, the tight end standing in the block, the running back standing in the chip, the slide protections. You're going to see it all. So I think the second year is where we're going to find out what Nick Bosa is. But as far as the first year, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was. When you watch the 49ers play, it's something that kind of the narrative is, I mentioned earlier in the show. The Chiefs, everyone feels like they're going to be a dynasty. Pat Mahomes, 24 years old, chugging beers at the Post Malone concert, getting standing O's from arenas like this guy's he can't do anything wrong. The Niners, people aren't as sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. They know their defense can play very well. Are the Niners going to be there year in and year out?
You know, the thing is, if they can keep their core together, they can keep that defense together, and they can keep running the ball like they have, they're always going to have a shot. I mean, I know it's a pass-happy league and things have changed, but if you can run the ball the way they have in the past, and that defense stays together, I know some guys got some contract coming up, but you keep that team together, man, they're going to be a contender for the next couple of years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how the rest of it goes for them. But, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. You're doing great things with Lights Out Extreme Fighting. We'll look for you, and hopefully you get inside the cage someday. And if you do, I will definitely be tuning in.
March 13th, man, Commerce Casino, Lights Out Extreme Fight, man. If you're on the West Coast, I know you don't come out as much, but if you're on the West Coast, man, come on out.
All right. Hey, if I come out, I'll definitely let you know because I love watching any kind of mixed martial arts. So, awesome, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
You got it, brother.
All right. There's Sean Merriman. Guys, so, yeah, it's he's all in with this LXF, Lights Out Extreme Fighting. And Merriman is like, he's teased it a few times about getting inside the cage. I think it'll be awesome to watch him fight. Wouldn't you like to watch him fight Bautista? Bautista, who was the professional wrestler, who now is an actor in what
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, he's done some Marvel
haven't seen
movies.
it, but he looks like a different character in that he's all painted up, wearing all kind of. But he's like a legit movie star now, isn't he? He's crossed over. He's not doing like the Stone Cold Steve Austin movies.
No, he's not.
These are real blockbuster hit movies. He plays a big role in.
Yeah,
right?
billion-dollar franchise.
Really?
Like, I mean, he's and he's going to be. He was in a Bond movie recently. Like, he's
truly crossed over what
he
they're all
has.
like. What John Cena continues to try to do.
Exactly.
Has John Cena crossed over?
Hey, Cena's in the next Fast and Furious movie, so let's not throw any shade. He
Wait,
is
what one is
definitely need
this?
to cross.
What one is this?
Fast 9, baby.
Is it really?
Yeah. Playing.
Still, you can't beat Tokyo Drift. That's the best one. Tokyo Drift was so good, man, wasn't it?
He's playing Toretto, Vin Diesel's brother, in the new one. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Nine Fast, 9 Furious. Yep. Can't wait till it comes back. Paul Walker seemed like a great dude. R.I.P. Man. That song, Wiz Khalifa, with that song he sang, it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't he sing that at Kobe's?
Kobe's, yeah. At the Staples Center.
The Lakers. Man, it all comes full circle
It
around
does.
here in the Pat McAfee show, doesn't it? Man, well, hey, I tell you what, this show, we are starting to wrap this thing up of day 2, Tuesday, February the 11th. I will be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Having a great time so far. Appreciate the guys here. Appreciate Pat letting me come in here and kind of take over his studio for 5 days. It's been a fun trip so far. Still 3 more days to come. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back for the next 3 days. It's the Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no